What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. Happy Halloween to everyone out there watching it on All Hallows Eve. We got two scary good matchups in the SEC to preview for you today. The first one of which is coming from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. The Alabama Crimson Tide and the LSU Tigers renew their rivalry in the first weekend of November, and there is a lot on the line in this game. A playoff spot for Alabama, but for both of these teams, a chance to go to Atlanta to go to the SEC championship game. It's going to be a fun one from Tuscaloosa, as this rivalry game usually is. We're going to talk about this game here in a little bit, but before we do that, you guys know I got to say thank you for all the support the channel has seen as of late. Means a lot to me. If you guys want to continue to help show your support, hey, leave a like, subscribe. That's the biggest way to help support my channel, obviously, is hit the subscribe button, comment, share, and then, of course, you're doing one right now by watching the video. You can do so many things to help support this channel. Anything that you are willing and or able to do to help support this channel would mean a lot to me. But, again, enough about me. You're not here to listen to me talk about me. You're here to listen to me talk about college football. We got the Crimson Tide. We got the Tigers. This is going to be a very, very fun one from Tuscaloosa. I feel like there have been a lot of people that have been writing off both of these two teams. Make no mistake, these are two teams that are going to go head-to-head in a brutal physical matchup, and it's going to be a fun one from Tuscaloosa in the first week of November. Let's go ahead and take a look at the stats that both of these teams have put up so far this season. And of course, we will start with the visiting team as we usually do. Let's talk about the LSU Tigers. Offensively, this is one of the most high-octane, highest-flying. It's one of the best offenses in college football. It has clicked on all cylinders this year, and it doesn't show any signs of slowing down. 47.4 points per game, over 550 yards per game, and it starts with their quarterback in Jayden Daniels, one of the front runners for the Heisman Trophy right now. 2,573 yards, 25 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions to 73% completion percentage. I know there were a lot of the Tiger fans that when he was the transfer that was going to come over to this program, a lot of them were like, oh, this is a terrible move. I don't think a lot of Tiger fans are complaining about what they're getting out of Jayden Daniels right now. It's an offense that doesn't turn the football over, only 5 turnovers this year, 57.8% on third down conversions. That's one of the best marks, if not the best mark in the entire country. But the one thing that you can say about this LSU offense that it needs to improve upon, oh, and by the way, it has a really solid run game with the likes of Logan Diggs, and then we know Jayden Daniels can do it on the ground as well. A lot of talented wide receivers, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, even the likes of Kyron Lacey. We know what Mason Taylor can do. He was the hero in this game last year, and many other names as well. But the one thing that this offense continually has kind of been said that they need to get better at is protecting the quarterback. They're allowing 2.3 sacks per game this year, and especially against an Alabama defensive front that is amazing at hounding the quarterback. LSU's offensive line has definitely got to get a little bit better here in this game. But let's talk about the LSU defense. Speaking of getting a little bit better, this is an LSU defense that definitely has its moments, and it forces turnovers, and it's able to get pressure to the quarterback at a pretty decent rate. However, this is an LSU defense that has struggled at times from opponents to be able to score, and it's an LSU defense that ends up getting torched more often than not. They're averaging almost 400 yards per game, 26 and a half points per game there, and their third down defensive mark definitely is a number that can see drastic improvement here, and they're going to need to be on their A game today, because even though this is not a statistic, or not today, on Saturday, but even though this isn't a statistically great Alabama offense, it definitely can beat you in a lot of different ways. So this is an LSU defense that is definitely going to have to step up and start to play better. If you're going to have a defensive performance like you had against Ole Miss, like you had against Missouri, and I know they went 1-1 in those 2 games, but Alabama's going to beat you in so many ways, because offensively, again, even though this Alabama team is not statistically one of the best teams in the country, well, it is still able to beat you in a lot of different ways. As we go ahead and take a look at some of the stats that players have put up this year. I mean, Jalen Milroe is a force to be reckoned with when he plays at his best. Obviously, he's got 1,617 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions so far this season. Has been able to do it on the ground here and there. 142 yards, does have 5 rushing touchdowns, which leads the team. Jace McClellan and Roydell Williams are 2 very solid options in the backfield, and the wide receiver room has seen improvement as of late with guys like Jermaine Burton and Isaiah Bond, among some other names there as well. Now, is this Alabama offense consistent by any means? No, not at all. And the offense is definitely not the strong suit of this team, especially not on the offensive line. They have allowed, I believe, the fourth most sacks in FBS this year with 35. This is an offensive line that has allowed 35 sacks. LSU's defensive front has to take advantage of that. They have a ton of great pass rushers that are going to be able to get pressure back to Jalen Milroe and be able to create havoc in this Alabama backfield. They need to prove that they can do it. It's an LSU defense that comes in with a lot of questions. It's got to be able to punish this offensive line. Again, we'll talk more about that later, but 35 sacks is just not a number at all that you want to see. Just no matter who you are, whether you're Alabama, whether you're Georgia, whether you're Ohio State, or whether you're UMass or Old Dominion, who I'm pretty sure is the worst team in the country in terms of sacks allowed per game. It's an offensive line that can beat you if it's consistent, but it has had consistency issues this year, which is why it struggled to really statistically get going. However, defensively, while the defense has had its lapses and had its moments, especially within the secondary, they've been able to get beat by the pass game quite often this year, which bodes well for the LSU Tigers. This is an Alabama defense that plays really, really well. It forces turnovers. They have 10 turnovers on the year. It's able to generate pressure to the quarterback at one of the highest rates and most effective rates in the country with their rushers like Dallas Turner, among others, 29 sacks. And it's a defense that when it is on its A game and when it is good, it's one of the best defenses in the country. The only problem with this Alabama team, offensively, defensively, is consistency. It has to consistently be good. It has to consistently be able to do the little things right in order to get by this LSU team. The only question for the Tigers, can that defense step up and play a really, really good game? So leads me into my what to watch for, your keys to the game. Whatever you really want to call it, it's just things I think you should keep an eye on while you are paying attention to this one. I have mentioned Jayden Daniels. He's one of the front runners for the Heisman Trophy right now. In this game right here, could be his Heisman moment. Is it time for Daniel's Heisman moment? I also realize the apostrophe should be on the other side of the S, but this is a huge opportunity for Jayden Daniels to make his Heisman statement and really get that signature moment that could pretty much solidify his spot in New York, if not get him even closer to grabbing that Heisman Trophy as the winner at the end of the season. This is an Alabama secondary that is very susceptible to getting beat. So if Jayden Daniels and these wide receivers can make Alabama pay more often than not, and he can get rid of the ball before the Alabama pass rush is able to get home, it's going to be a really good day for Jayden Daniels. I expect it to be a good day for him anyway. It could be a legendary day if a lot of things go right. But in order to do that, though, in order for Daniels to have his Heisman moment, and in order for LSU to win this game, you have to win the line of scrimmage, especially offensively. Your offensive line has got to do a good job of being able to limit what this Alabama pass rush can do, as well as opening up spots for this run game to be able to be dynamic like it has this season. And you also have to win with the pass rush as well, which, again, I know this is an Alabama offensive line that has allowed a lot of sacks this year, but it's still a lot easier said than done to win the battle at the line of scrimmage against Alabama. Sure, they're not as strong as they usually are. However, this is a pass rush for LSU that has been spotty this year. You have to take full advantage of the weakness that is the Alabama offensive line. And again, I've hammered this nail home all video long. Can this defense make the extra play? Can this defense get off the field? Can this defense get Jalen Milroe to the ground when it needs to the most? Can they force the extra turnover? That's going to be something to watch here in this game. For the Alabama Crimson Tide, well, you got to be able to gash the Tigers through offensive consistency. Consistency, consistency, consistency. That is the name of the game for the Alabama Crimson Tide. If you can be consistent, not only offensively, but defensively, and also improve that pass protection, it is inevitable. With how bad the Alabama offensive line has been this year, it is inevitable that Jalen Milroe is going to be on the ground at least 2 or 3 times throughout this game. It's just going to happen. But can the pass protection improve enough to be able to let Jalen Milroe extend a play here and there? And that could be the extra play that they need. But you have to be consistent offensively, set the tone with a run, let Jalen Milroe be able to throw it to these wide receivers. And this secondary, it is allowing under 200 passing yards per game, but again, it is susceptible to getting beat, and it has to step up big time here. This is one of the best passing attacks in the country. You're going up against one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the country, who's got two really, really good weapons out there on the wide receiver front. Again, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, they're some of the best in the business, some of the leading receivers in the entire country. So if you can lock them down, if you can shut them down, more so than what other defenses have been able to do, hey, this is an Alabama pass rush that is going to get home and is going to do its job, especially with guys like Dallas Turner and others. The secondary cannot get beat as bad as it has in previous weeks. And the thing with Alabama, that to hammer the consistency point home, can the Crimson Tide string together a full 60 minutes? You could say that about the LSU defense as well. Can it play really, really well for 60 minutes? But Alabama as a team needs to come together, play a full 60 minutes in order to win this game. Revenge is on the mind for the Alabama Crimson Tide, although it never really feels that way. Alabama never really feels like they're trying to get revenge. Alabama's always just kind of been Alabama. They're the favorite right now, according to Vegas and according to the FBI. 7:45 game on CBS. Guys, I guarantee you this one is going to be a thriller to watch. Last year's game in Death Valley was an overtime thriller. Of course, Mason Taylor, the hero there, the LSU Tigers able to win that game. This year could be a very, very similar style. And I think both teams are going to have their really, really high and really, really low moments in this game. The only question is which team's high is higher and which team's low is lower. You can kind of compare back and forth here, but I do think with the Crimson Tide faithful backing them at home, I think Alabama's going to be able to pull this one out. And look, this is an Alabama offense that has not been able to get going at a consistent rate. This is an LSU defense that'll make Alabama's offense look a little bit better than it normally is. I think Alabama's pass rush is going to be able to get home often enough to be able to maybe get LSU off the field one final time, maybe be able to force Jane Daniels to throw that elusive interception. He does have 3 this year, but I just think Alabama's going to be able to make the extra play at home to be able to win this game and keep their college football playoff hopes alive. And with a win here, you likely solidify your spot in Atlanta in the SEC title game. Regardless, this is going to be a fun one from Tuscaloosa. Make sure you tune into it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let me know your thoughts on the game in the comment section down below. And hey, as always, remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. I'll see all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.